All right. Welcome back to Sabercast Podcast. This is going to be episode 3, where I have on the line in the studio with me, Ballerstorm, the owner, creator, master in everything that is the league. Ballerstorm, how are you doing today?
I want like a Khaleesi type introduction here.
A Khaleesi type introduction?
Yeah, it's got to be long and drawn out and all my accolades. I'm
okay. I can give you that. I can keep going. Would you like me to?
No,
I can definitely.
We're good.
All right. Well, Ballerstorm, I know we are coming fresh off the Pro Bowl. Did you happen to watch that at all?
I didn't watch it. I was busy playing Destiny.
Well, you and John Canton and Josh did go head-to-head again.
I saw the stats.
Yes.
I got a touchdown on you, I guess.
You did, because apparently Canton decided to immediately abandon coverage of you 3 seconds into play, let the QB scramble around, and then as he charged towards him, let you just run it straight in.
I like it. I mean, it's probably an intimidation factor. Josh Garden is pretty amazing.
Well, he is. Unfortunately, that was his only catch of the day against Canton, because Canton had a pass deflection and an interception when targeting Josh Garden.
That line, I was under 100 yards, which, it could be better there. But, I mean, that touchdown's all right.
Yeah, no, touchdown's great. And, of course, you guys won. That Wraith's offense is absurd.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I mean, we're missing our workhorse. Nuck wasn't in, but, Arose is there. Actually, it's funny. I'm not even sure how to pronounce that. Chris Oros.
I don't know. He's coming on here, so hopefully he can clear that up for us.
Yeah, he's got to clear that
up. The plan is to ask him a bunch of questions. All right, so I'm going to start with maybe a tough one, maybe an easy one. What made you want to start the league?
There just wasn't any football then, and I was tired of waiting. I mean, I joined SHL, I don't know, what is it, like 2.5 years ago or something now? And since then, there's been one football sim, which was started by Bengals fan, who was Vic Bowers, who's since on the EFL. But he made one which I was part of for a season, and I had a pretty good player, and then, I don't know, I just kind of lost interest because it wasn't the type of league I was used to, which is the SHL style, which is this whole thing, like, point tasks and earning money versus the non-money, and that's a whole different thing, which is why the EFL has their own league now, but I didn't really like that setup, so I kind of went inactive on that league, and then nothing came up, and there was whispers that some leagues were going to start, and then they never did. And I was talking to, Jameis Christ, Hercules. Him and I talk most days. And it's like, man, I really want to be a football league again. And then I was also talking with Prince Kyle and Copenhagen, who's inactive. He's a dad now. He doesn't have much time for it. He's, what did he name his kicker? Brandon Gerard, was it? Anyway, he's one of the kickers. Brandon Walsh, that's it. And I was like, man, I'm just going to start this. So I had some free time at work. I just found the JSync site and just started copying pretty much exactly what SHL did and transferring it to football. And a week after that, we were kind of soft launched and word got out and a bunch of people started joining. I was like, oh man, we're not really ready for this. People were joining. I was like, okay, I kind of rushed it. And I never would have been able to do it without Prince Kyle. He did a lot of work. But that wasn't really your question. You just asked why I wanted to do it. I kind of went off on it.
No, that's fine. Actually, you kind of led into my next question, which was how'd you go about creating it? But if you want to continue on that tangent, you're more than free to, and then we can come back.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of it. When we launched, I'll work it out. I think I might have put it on SHL just as kind of like a feelers thing. And all of a sudden people started joining and the chat started blowing up. I was like, oh, this was 7 days after I started building the forum. And then thankfully, Copenhagen is amazing at graphics, and he made the whole layout. So the skin you see now, it was all made by him, and the NSFL logo was made by him. And so those all kind of got thrown up and made it look a little more official, and it just kind of started rolling. It kind of snowballed from there.
Awesome. That's really cool. This being my first sim league, I had no idea what kind of all went into it. So it's interesting to hear kind of how it got its start from SHL. I had noticed there was a ton of SHL guys on here, and everybody kind of seemed to know each other going into this. So it was definitely something I was just kind of thrown into a whole new world of this simulated league stuff.
Yeah, it's got to be tough, I guess, for guys to come in when everyone else seems to know each other. But now when you look at the league, it seems like most of the big guys in the NSFL were not guys that run other leagues. You have like Rain Delay is from SHL, but other than that, it's like Berserkap, Valtuken, Time Consumer. Like those are all new guys that weren't in sim leagues before, as far as I know, at least. And then guys like Noble, who came from SHL, and he's also in Go MXL, and he just loves sim leagues, I guess.
Yeah, he seems to have more than enough time on his hands.
It's funny. I've got a very good player on SHL who was like, I broke 2,000 TPE, and I put everything into that league. But I found out that I'm really a one league kind of person, because since NSFL has gotten rolling, I really haven't done much on SHL at all. Like, this is all my attention is here. I thought, like, oh, I'll have two players, whatever. I've had this guy for so long, I'll keep him up. But no, not really. One league kind of guy.
Hey, that's all right. We're glad you're putting all your attention here. So that kind of, I think that kind of answered my what made you want to start the league too. Was you were saying there wasn't really a football one. Are you a huge football fan yourself?
Oh, big time. Yeah, I love football. My wife loves football. We're massive Seahawks fans. Like when we lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl, we were there, and we're not like loaded or anything. Like, I sold my quad so we could afford tickets to go and stuff. Like, we're big time football fans.
Awesome. It's good to know that's out there. I was hoping it wasn't just guys who had done sim leagues as a whole and were like, well, here's football. We'll just kind of put stuff together and call it football. Here we go.
I think some guys are kind of like, I'm not a big football fan, but I'll join so you get them, and they make like kickers and stuff. But,
yeah,
I need every position. That's great.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I have talked to a few people who just they're like, well, I like sim leagues as a whole, or I kind of like I watch football on Sundays, but it's not really everything I do. But like, I'm a diehard Lions fan. I'm sure people on the site know that. I have my season tickets this year. I'm going to the Cardinals game on Sunday. I'm super excited for that, for my first real official.
I hope you smash them. Just destroy them.
Oh, so do I. I hope we smash everybody we play, but yeah.
Every Sunday, my wife and I, the entire day is football, and our first it's reserved for that. Like, we have this thing where every Thursday we go out. There's like a drink deal in town, so every Thursday for the summer we've been going there. We've become regulars, and we're like, oh god, there's football on Thursday. Like, we don't want to miss that. So I ended up streaming the game on my phone while we were at the bar, because it's not a sports bar; it's just like a tap house.
Okay, that's fun. I'm glad to know the guy who created the league does definitely have a heart in the sport, because that really does make the difference. If you were just some guy who was good at sim leagues who made this versus someone who may not be the absolute best, and I'm not saying you're good or bad at sim leagues. I am in no way able to judge that, but knowing that you have this passion about football and that you care about the sport enough to take it upon yourself to create a league was great news to me, and I think that should be good news to everybody else listening. I don't know if we all know how much into football or how big of fans or whatever that everybody is. I mean, we've all got these personas and stuff, but it's kind of always nice to hear some of the man behind the mask, I guess, as you would say.
Yeah, you can rest assured it's a passion.
Sweet. All right. So I've got some more questions about the league as a whole, kind of the background to it before we get to the easy, nice softball questions. I'm going to start out a little bit harder.
That was all you got.
Oh, that's all I get? Oh, I'm done. Thanks, Goodell. You gonna walk out of the Patriots Stadium before any of the fans get there again?
We're on to Cincinnati.
So my next question is, during this whole thing, we've got all this stuff that goes into the league. I want to start kind of picking it apart a little bit. So my first question was about the archetype starting builds and how you kind of came up with the stat allocations and the ideas for each archetype and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, okay. So mad problems, Kyle. I mean, they weren't perfect. Obviously, we've had to make adjustments, but Prince Kyle simmer from day one. So when he started making files to test, he would build out a randomly generated league. He would let the game create all the positions. And then what he would do is he would take down, let's say receivers. He would say, okay, here's all the receivers' strength. And he'd list them all. And then he'd be like, this is the average strength. This is the highest strength on any receiver. And this is the lowest strength. And then we'd go, okay, what 4 types of receivers are there? We wanted 4 for each one, for each position. We said, okay, let's go with possession, red zone, route runner, and speed. And then we'd say, okay, strength. Which one of these is the strongest? Which one's the weakest? And we'd say, okay, red zone, possession, red whatever. Speed was kind of last, I think, in that one, for example. And then he would say, okay, well, the highest strength of any receiver in this simulation generated file was, let's say, 50s. So the red zone receivers are strong. It should have 50 as its highest. And then we'd say, okay, the next strongest max would be possession, I think we did. So we would do that one. Okay, does 40 sound good? Should it be that much stronger? Should it be 45? And so we did that for each stat using what the game had generated in a average league. And that's how we built every archetype, went through each position with each statistic and said, how do we rank them? And then we put it kind of near the max. Does that sound too high compared to other positions? Does that sound too low? Maybe we'll do a little higher. Maybe we'll do a little lower. That's how they were built.
Very cool. That's a really interesting process to hear that you went through. I know that there have been some questions, and obviously there have been some changes made to builds as we've gone along. Are there any more planned?
Well, maybe something to do with tight ends, because it's kind of been brought up about, how maybe they should be faster, better at this. But right now in the head office, we have our ideas and changes thread in there. And I kind of just throw stuff in there throughout the season and then check in kind of near the end of the year and say, okay, where are we at? What should we change? So right now, with the offseason just ending, well, it's going to end on Monday. It'll end on Monday. Preseason starts next week. So right now, all the changes that we had wanted to put in, we've done. I'm not really one to sit there and say, oh, you know what, let's wait. If we can do it and it should be done, I want to do it. So there's not anything sitting there waiting to be done right now because we announced them all. But I know that when I did announce the archetype changes, I think it was Demirio was like, oh, nothing for tight end, because he made a big article about it, and it was kind of convincing.
I was definitely in on that article as well.
We didn't look too closely at tight ends besides changing the block and giving the higher caps there.
Okay. Yeah, I know I'm definitely one to beat the tight ends need more speed drum, and if you find that thread, you'll go see all the stats I posted, but that's neither here nor there. But no, it's good to hear that you guys are always considering stuff, always looking kind of at performances and stuff and trying to improve those as the seasons go on. I would ask, I'm curious, I just wondering if it's been brought up in the head office or not, since I don't have access to that, but have you seen the threads about possibly changing the run support corners to slot corners and giving them more agility instead of making them stronger or whatever, as a swap kind of thing instead of just TPE changes?
I mean, I feel like people don't like the names for but as far as figuring out types of corners, we wanted there to be one that was kind of stronger and a little bit slower and better at tackling.
Sure.
And I forget who said the first day, oh, here's slot corners, should be good at this and this, and maxed out at this and good at this. And I looked at it, I was like, if those were the stats it had, it would be those are the important cornerback stats that he just said it should be good at this, this, and this, and maxed at this. I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to make that one because it would just be the best one if I followed that. I don't really love the name slot corner as much as it is a thing because, and this might just be semantics, but let's say you have a slot corner who's your best corner. In the NFL, you have a guy like Chris Harris who's going to play the slot as much as he can. But in the NSFL, they're going to be on the outside. Even if they're your best corner and they're a slot corner, they're not going to be playing them in the slot because the best receiver's not in the slot. If they're your best player, they're going to be out at the left corner spot or the right corner spot. I know it's just a name, but
no, that's
like a better name.
That's totally fair. No, and to be honest, I had not considered that thing. And as I've looked at some of the changes that have been proposed and stuff as just a casual observer, as someone who does own the sim and who has played around with it a bunch, but I had not. It kind of slowly puts it in perspective, especially when you own the sim. That it's as much as you want to make it as close to the NFL as possible. The sim is very limited in terms of stuff like that. Like, it does not really play a zone defense, a true zone defense. It plays man-to-man totally 100%. Right.
Absolutely right. And then also, I wouldn't swap an archetype. I would do what I just did with running backs. I would just say we wanted something else. I'd add one.
Okay.
Like, we just added the blocking back so that somebody would kind of have a full type of thing. Because leading up to, I guess, just the first two seasons, it was like, if you wanted to have a blocking running back, you could maybe go like all-purpose, or if you really wanted to be a blocking guy, you would just be a blocking tight end and be like, hey, play fullback. But I think it's better with an actual blocking running back setup.
Yeah. No, definitely. And it'll be interesting to see how these things kind of change and evolve as I just talked to Air about the switch, the upcoming switch, not this season, maybe not even next season, but eventually to the 2018 sim, and seeing how that impacts positions, how that impacts stats, how it kind of does everything.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. Whenever we get to that, that'll be exciting.
All right. So that covers the archetype starting builds. My next question you actually kind of answered already, which was what had made you decide to go with the articles for money to buy TPE over articles just to get straight TPE like they do in other leagues.
Yeah, it's just the two different types of sim leagues there. And some people like one, some people like the other. I am an SHL guy, so being the guy who started this league, I'm going to use what I know best. And that's what I know, so that's what I went with. And like the VHL is a good league, and the EFL, I haven't joined it because I'm just, like I said, I'm a one league guy. I know they're probably doing a good job with it, but I feel like, and this isn't a shot at anybody, I just feel like more people come to SHL as opposed to, say, VHL. I don't know if that's because of the league type or because of the people that they know, somebody knows somebody, so they go to it. But it seems to have carried over. We've got a lot of traction, more than I ever anticipated we would get. And I don't know if it's because of the type of league or just because the people know each other. When I was first starting up the league, I went on the SBA, which is the Simulation Basketball League that Shaka runs. And I was talking to him because I knew he had run leagues before and just kind of asking for advice because I had never done anything like that. And he had said, even if the league starts to dwindle, it doesn't matter. Keep simming is the most important thing. Just keep simming no matter what. Even if you only have a small group of dedicated people, they will still be there. And if you keep going, it should build up if you have problems. I was like, wow, I hope I never get there, but it could happen. We're a fledgling league. And luckily, we've never had that. And I'm like just blown away with how much interest we've got and how well things have gone.
Yeah, I've been quite amazed at this. I saw you guys' post. I think it was probably your post in the Lions subreddit when you guys did your first rounds.
I've been Ravens fan. I've had nothing to do with recruiting.
Oh, fair enough.
At all. Other guys' hands, and they went out and did Reddit and did forums, and they've done an awesome job. So huge props to that because the league wouldn't be where it is without our recruiting team.
Fair enough. Well, like I said, I saw some post in the Lions subreddit and went, fuck it. I'm living alone. I got nothing else going on. I won't know anybody. Let's give this a shot. I was sitting in an airport and just scrolling through subreddits and stuff, and that popped up, and I went, I'll check this out. And I looked at the league, and I was like, this looks pretty cool. I'll give it a shot. And, here we are, season 3. I've got, not to toot my own horn, but I got a Pro Bowl corner who's set the
Josh Garden,
who goes up against his nemesis every once in a while, but who has set the single season record for pass deflections, which is kind of fun. But and I'm doing this podcast thing. I never would have thought I'd be doing this. But it's been awesome to watch this league really take on a life of its own and see all the members contribute so much. Time Consumer and Christy and Julie O'Sullivan and all those guys who put in, and Dan Miller and the guys who put in all the statistical work, who are putting out these amazing articles about how much players do what and what stats do what and all this kind of stuff that we're all trying to figure out, and seeing all these great media pieces where everybody kind of sets a player's whole persona and comes out, and we've got this whole narratives coming out with teams and players, and it's been amazing, and I'm so glad to be a part of it, and I'm glad to see that your dream has kind of become a reality here.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that you enjoy it. So let me ask something. You said you joined in the airport. Were you on a laptop or were you on a cell phone?
Cell phone.
So when you first joined, that must have been so confusing. On a cell phone.
Oh, God, yes. Oh, my God. I had no idea what the fuck was going on.
So I did the exact same thing with SHL. I was on my way to a hockey tournament in Kelowna. I don't know if you know where that is. Kind of like northernish, middle BC. And I was in a car on the way to a hockey tournament, and I was like, found this SHL thing on my phone on Reddit. It was a Reddit paid advertisement, actually. And I joined it on my phone, and their league is a little bit different. Like, they don't have waivers when you join as a free agent. I joined like 2 days after the draft. And when you join as free agent, the junior teams can sign. You get to choose who you want to sign with. So I was getting messages from all these teams. Oh, this is kind of cool. So I'm like answering the messages. I was debating between going to Vancouver and going to Kelowna, and then I was like, ended up going to Kelowna because I was like, you know what? I'm driving to Kelowna right now. I should play for them. But I remember being on my phone and like trying to, how do I build this thing? I built my player wrong the first time, like didn't spend my TPE right. And thankfully there's people that, help out and teach you things. And once I got back to a computer, it became a lot more clear. But yeah, learning at first on your cell phone, not an easy thing.
No, and the site wasn't super mobile friendly, and for whatever reason, all the images were disabled. So I'm just going through all these forums, going, "What the fuck do I do?" But I had 2 hours on a delayed flight, so I fought through it, and I read some of the media stuff that was going in, and looked into the teams, and looked into the builds and what needed to be there. So, here I am, and I'm glad to, like I said, I'm glad to be here, glad to be talking to you today. That's an awesome thing, I don't know if everybody. I feel like most people on the site are accessible, and that's pretty awesome. But it's always good to kind of reel in the big fish and get to talk to the head honcho every once in a while.
Yeah, people should know. Like, my inbox is always open, even if I don't have the time to like go through and say somebody needs help. Even if I don't have the time to go through and like step by step help you out, I can at least point you in the direction or ask somebody else. Hey, can you help this guy out? Inbox is always open. If anybody has any questions or anything, just hit me up.
Awesome. All right, now to get into some a little more fun stuff, I guess I would say I call it. How have this one might be you can feel free to answer this as best you can. Obviously, this past season we had several quote unquote scandals happen. How has that kind of changed how the front office has operated?
It's classic sim leagues. Every league has drama and scandals, stuff like that. But as far as the front office, like, not a lot has changed in there. We added a couple guys last year who were kind of learning the ropes, and now they're full-fledged commissioners, and they know what they're doing. So their voices have become a little bit louder when things come up, which is really nice to see. The more voices we have in there, the better. But as far as like the Gibson thing, and we try to act quickly without rushing it, but we want to make something that isn't going to feel too much backlash. And I don't want to say that like we're fearing what people are going to say. We just want something that is going to be fair punishment and still make the people happy. Because a lot of times people are like, oh, that's not enough, or oh, you're too harsh. Things like that. So it's a fine balance, but we try our best to, try to put ourselves in the people's shoes and give them what they want.
Yeah, that's I mean, I may personally not have agreed 100% on every single situation, but that's not your problem. That's mine.
And nobody will.
Nobody will. And I guess that's my point is, some people said the Carmel Gibson thing was too harsh. Some people said it was nowhere near enough. And the same thing's happened with almost every other ruling you've handed down. I think as long as we haven't hit Roger Goodell levels of, I guess the rain today has gone on for about 4 minutes longer than I wanted it to or could deal with it. So Tom Brady suspended again. As long as we're not hitting that kind of stuff, I think it'll be fine.
What's very interesting sometimes is when people are talking about issue comes up, like Gibson, for example. People are talking about, oh, this should be the punishment, this should be the punishment, this should be the punishment. When you start to look at what people are saying, you kind of see groups. These people are thinking this way, these people are thinking this way, and it's kind of funny because a lot of times the sim league veterans that have been in lots of sim leagues, like America, for example, I mean, he rubs a lot of people the wrong way, but he's been around and he knows what he's doing. When the Gibson thing came up, people are throwing around, oh, this should be the punishment, this should be the punishment. And he just came in and he was like, you guys, that's not the way it works. Like, this is what should happen, and this is what should happen, and this is why. And it was just like very short and cut and dry. Mm-hmm. And then there was a lot of other people who were saying things that were, I don't want to say overcomplicated, but just like didn't need to be as much as they wanted. Maybe they wanted more blood or whatnot. But in the head office, we've kind of got a mixture of both. We've got guys that have been around, and we've got guys who are kind of new to Sim League. So we get both perspectives, which is nice.
Cool. I know that seems like a really, really short answer to that long explanation, but you said it all, and as much as I want to react more than I can, I think the work speaks for itself. Obviously you guys are always going to be under scrutiny. Someone's always going to have a problem with something you're doing, and I think just continuing on the way you have been has been just fine.
I think an important thing to remember is that oftentimes, how do I say it? I heard, but I can't remember how to say it. It was like 5% of the people make 95% noise. So if most people are happy with something, but you have a minority that doesn't like something, I'm not talking about like minorities of races and stuff. I'm just talking about on the forum. If there's a small group of people, that you're going to hear them, and it may seem like there's a lot of push for one thing, but really it's just a smaller group, and most of the people are happy.
Yeah, I think most of the people are relatively okay with the league. The general consensus that I feel across the boards in my day-to-day browsing is that people enjoy it here. We're having fun, and the dumb things pop up, but they blow over pretty quick.
Yeah, we handle things quickly, and with guys like Air, on the sim side of things, keeping things rolling, and man, the work he does as a player progression grader, he is my hero. I just basically have to put out the PTs, come up with ideas, make our little schedule that we have in our PT area, and then I follow that throughout the year, and he just cleans up everything else. He's a machine.
He was definitely interesting to talk to.
I can't wait to hear it.
So getting a little more on the fun side, what do you think of the allegations that you have been blowing league funds on coke-fueled parties?
Well, my very first article in the SFL would probably answer that pretty well, all about Josh Garden's suspensions and coke habits and playing in Mexico. And, I mean, they're probably true.
Okay, well, I guess that answers that. I wasn't expecting just, I did it, probably.
Yeah, Garden is, well, he's not suspended yet. He must be in the commissioner's pocketbook.
I would think so, for whatever reason. I guess you have to.
When people were doing, so we had the season 1 draft. You were season 1, right?
Yes, I was a season 1 player.
Yeah, so we did the season 1 draft, and I remember people grading the draft, and they weren't sure if they should grade it in character or grade it just as like, this guy's active, he's going to earn TP, he's going to do good, etc. So they were talking about Josh Garden as the number 2 overall pick, and they were like, oh, off-field problems, drug habits, might be suspended. So it was cool to kind of see somebody make a mock draft like that. I forget who wrote it, but it was neat, because most times when you read mock drafts, it's all about the user. And how good the player is going to be.
Yeah, and
with the in-character stuff like that.
Right, no, and that's cool. And you're right. You're totally right on the mock drafts. Now they seem to be all about the users anymore. The S3 mock drafts were 100% about the users and the builds, and not really about the characters anymore. And it's something I definitely would like to see come back. I think the fun things in game were fun. I remember the moment I felt welcome truly welcome in the league was I was kind of trying to make a little stink about myself, because I had gone in the 10th round and I had told all the GMs who were going to draft, who had talked to me, that I was going to be really freaking active. You should definitely take me. I'll be a steal. But they skipped over, and whatever. That's their thing. But I remember game 1 after the preseason, I have a mention, and it's in the Thunderdome, and it's Josh Garden going, "Get ready, John Canton. I'm about to light you up tonight." And I'm like, not only am I getting called right out right away, but the owner of the league has decided to make me his target for this. And I'm like, all right, the rivalry's on. Here we go. I'm going to shut you down.
That's awesome. It's funny, that started because Hercules and I are good friends, and I was like, he's the GM. Well, he was the GM.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, I got to start some shit with this team. So playing you guys week 1, I had to send him that, and he had some chirps back, and yeah, it was fun back and forth. And then we went into a PT. It rolled over into that with me and you. It was fun. Yeah,
I'm going to try to bring that back. You beware.
Good.
That was one of the more fun things going through there.
Yeah, now that I'm not the best receiver in the league anymore, I hope I didn't just ruin any awards. I'm not sure if the awards has happened yet while I'm talking to you.
I believe,
didn't win it this year.
I was going to say, I believe they were going on while we are talking here. So this will be out, and the awards have already been out. So I actually might look that up while I'm here with you, just to get your opinions on some of this stuff. I'd love to hear what you, not the owner, but what you, just the NSFL member, thinks of some of these.
Yeah, I'll tell you who I voted for.
Oh, yeah, I should have voted for.
Robbie Phelps got top receiver. I mean, he got the yards. People could debate touchdowns, but he had the catches, the yards. He had way less drops. A great year. And I think the other nominee was Kendrick Hendricks, who had also, I think he had 9 touchdowns. He had more than me. I had 8, he had 9, and then Phelps had the most yards.
I gotta find. I apologize. I'm looking a little bit to see if I can find the announcements here. I just don't know which forum it's under.
If you scroll down, it should be under the awards area, I think.
Oh yeah, I always forget that that's a thing. There we are, awards. Hey. All right, so
I gotta remember to pay Jiggly for doing that too.
Oh yeah. Let's see. The Solus, blah, blah, blah. That's all those awards. King Bronco got the MVP, I believe.
No.
Top performance of the year.
Yeah.
Top performance of the year. I think I would agree with that.
Jace Tuck got MVP.
Okay.
By a long shot. So the top D-line award and the top O-line award, every single voter voted for the same people.
Really?
Every single voter for Jace Tuck, and every single voter voted for Tim Past.
Oh, wow. I should have put in a vote there so that they didn't go totally done. I would have definitely chosen my buddy Muford on the line just because I'm a homer like that.
These are all done by the committee, so it's in the general manager. Each team gets one vote, and each head office member gets one vote.
Okay, never mind then.
Yeah. And then the people have a say in the most outstanding player, which I had to name the most outstanding this year because I was like, MVP voted by the players, MVP voted by the committee. So kind of like the top 50 or top 100 list for NFL in real life would be the one voted for by the people, and then the MVP, which is Matt Ryan, voted by the committee, and then everybody started, Angus Winchester MVP, and I'm like, well, yeah, he's MVP voted by the people, but the real MVP that has the award under his name, if you ever noticed, is Nuck. So when you win the MVP award and when you win the Ultimates, you get a little on under your name.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you've noticed that, but if you're looking at, look at Nuck, you'll see the little MVP award. And if you're looking at any outlaw, you'll see the Ultimates trophy under their name, which soon will be too. I just haven't added it yet.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Hey, look at that.
And then we've got a DSFL one the next season.
Yeah, I do have some questions about the DSFL, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So I'm sure some people might be more educated than me on this, but I know there's some people out there who may not be as educated on this. So the DSFL got started this season, and we've got 6 teams, right?
Correct.
Okay.
We were going to do 4, and we were going to make it a affiliation setup. So each team would be affiliated by 2 NSFL teams, one from the ASFC, one from the NSFC. But when we were like, okay, let's do it, let's try a test league, we went into Draft Day Sports, Pro Football, like our simulation, and went new league, and I went, oh, fuck, you can only make 6-team leagues as the smallest.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that. All right.
Like, oh, man, are we going to have enough people to do a 6-team league? That seems like too many teams. And it seems like it's working out.
Hey, well, that's cool. So I guess my question is, do you feel this was the right time to roll it out, even with teams still playing some inactives and stuff? Or are we looking to, do you think maybe, I mean, obviously you think it was the right time because you rolled it out. So there's that. But what would you say to people who might think that we could have waited a year?
I just think that there was too many guys that were active that weren't getting playing time. So we needed something. Even if it's only certain positions, wide receiver, for example, people weren't making quarterbacks. You could make an O-lineman and start anywhere. You could probably make a D-tackle and start anywhere. But like your corners or your linebackers or your wide receivers were getting to the point where somebody would make a guy and nobody would claim them because they're like, oh, I'm saving my claims for O-line, or I don't have a spot for this guy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, man, we need to make the prospects game so these guys are, getting to play. And so even though it's not, I don't think there would ever be an ideal time, I'm saying.
That's fair.
Enough actives at the other positions, then those ones would already, the skill positions would be way overcrowded by that point.
Gotcha. So this was an elegant solution instead of just adding expansion teams.
Yeah, I didn't want to expand too big when I knew that a development league would be in our future. It was just a matter of kind of figuring out when we wanted to do that. Noble was pushing really hard for it, so he had a lot of ideas. He was messing at the time, proposing rules, stuff like that. And so he was a big factor in getting that going. So props to him.
All right, cool. Yeah, no, I'm just kind of asking as I think of it a little bit. Some of these. So DSFL is going on. We've got where every team's sending down an active, and I believe they're filled with bots right now.
Yeah, the bots. They're all 30 TPE players because I wanted the teams to have players that weren't just, ZZ Zobot, catch 'em 5. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So each team, I sent them a list. I said, hey, tell me what archetype you want. I'll make 30 TPE players for every team and fill the roster. So they sent me what they wanted. point of being backups. It's better than robots, and they're only temporary because with every player now starting the DSFL, they're going to fill up pretty quick. But what was funny, what I was laughing at is I've played a lot of Madden. So me and two of my buddies who aren't on the site, and they won't join the site, they're not into forums and simulation stuff. But we play leagues every single year, and like we played to like 2028 on Madden 17, and we played pretty much that far on most Maddens that we play. So throughout the years, we've kind of got these randomly generated players that you get in the Madden drafts. And so when I was making all these DSFL players, I was just racking my brain. Oh, who was a wide receiver that I had? Who was a quarterback that I had? And then I started, that's how I got the names. I'd be like, oh, this guy was a mobile one? Okay, and then who wants a mobile quarterback? And then I put that guy that I had in Madden in the DSFL, which was kind of funny for me.
Oh, that's fun. Hey, anything you got to make it enjoyable for you and for everybody else. So are we going to start seeing simulated DSFL games in between simulated NSFL teams?
Yeah, DSFL plays Tuesday, Thursday. They play double sims on both of them. So they still have 4 games a week, just like NSFL has 4 games a week. We play Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Friday. They play Tuesday, Thursday, Thursday.
All right, that'll be something good to look forward to. Now, if I'm correct here, the DSFL doesn't technically have any team affiliation with the NSFL. It's 6 independent teams.
Not at all. Yeah. So, are you a hockey fan at all?
I am not.
Okay, so anybody that's listening, it's like major junior hockey to NHL. It's not NHL, AHL. It's not like basketball and D-League basketball. So it's, say you're a 16-year-old kid, you play junior hockey, you play for 2 years, then you get drafted to the NHL. They don't have to be like, okay, we're going to bring you up to our team. They can be like, we're going to send you back to juniors for a couple of years. DSFL, same idea. You play 1 year, you get drafted to the NSFL, and then the team can send you back. So you could play in the DSFL for 4 years. There's a cap on your TP at 250, but that doesn't mean you can't earn past that. You can earn 500 TP. You just bank the rest, which is always fun, because let's say you've played 4 years of DSFL, and you're like, I'm ready to come up. It's my time to be the quarterback for the Las Vegas Legion, for example. Then you spend that 250 TP, and that update is gratifying.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, yeah. And you immediately get these huge increases in performance as well.
Yeah. I mean, you're playing harder competition, of course.
Well, sure.
It's just cool to see your player get that much better.
Yeah. Hey, that's cool. I was kind of a little in the dark about the DSFL, and I'm glad to be educated myself about this. So now,
pause this for a minute. I'm just going to grab my pizza.
Sure.
Just give me a sec.
All right. So we've kind of talked about the DSFL. We've talked about the creation of the league. We've talked about all this kind of stuff. Let's talk about maybe a little bit about your interactions with different members of the league. I know you're relatively approachable here. You've definitely, you've definitely made members feel welcome. I mean, you've made myself feel welcome, especially when you call me out in the Thunderdome week 1 of the very first season. But obviously, we've got as the league owner, you're kind of a moderator as well. Have you ever had encountered anything that you've really had to kind of lay the hammer down on and cut it out before it got too far?
Thankfully, not really. I know there was a lot of people that are new to leagues don't exactly know what tampering is. So people have like kind of skirted that line, and I'm like, hey, don't be stupid. This is what you can't do. This is what's okay. Like, don't make me have to ban you, because, like, not ban, but like you would be suspended and your team would give up draft picks. So educating people, stuff like that. But as far as, having to shut anybody down, there hasn't really been any huge drama. There's been kind of threads that have blown up, holdouts and like that. But I mean, they're just creating discussion, which I think is healthy for the league. The whole holdout thing isn't going to be an issue anymore because you're not going to have players playing for an NSFL team as a waiver player. They're all in the DSFL, so they're not going to their locker room already and want to stay there. But really, members have all been pretty good. There's, of course, there's characters. There's people that stir the pot a little more than okay.
Yeah, well, obviously we've got one of those in here pretty significantly right now. We have Archon, who has kind of made a name for himself as most people refer to him as a troll. I like to call him a provocateur. I think he's, a troll would be, to me, someone who's just intentionally getting people to do dumb things, and he definitely does that sometimes, but I think he says evocative things to get reactions out of people that come from a different place. But what are your opinions on him coming from that kind of head office position?
So within the head office, I'll say right away, there was a couple things where we were like, hey, we might need to kind of tell him to lay off X event a little bit, or saying this sort of thing as much. Like, we might need to rein him in a little bit. But for the most part, I've seen him in the Discord a little bit, which I rarely am ever in the league Discord, as most people probably know. Whenever I post, and they're like, oh, Josh Gordon's posted, what? But I've seen him, he seems to be active in there, and he doesn't seem like a douche in there, but when he's kind of in his character, it's different. Kind of like Matt James. Matt James is very RP when he's on the site. It's all about being the player or the agent or whatever, and I'm okay with people having that role. Just, we don't want to have to punish someone for being, extremely racist or things like that. The SHL has kind of had something like this where a lot of people call it very soft because they had a lot of issues with people getting offended at people saying things or people saying things that were over the line or stuff like that. So they started handing out punishments. And now, I mean, I guess I see where a lot of people come saying it's soft. At the same time, you have to be politically correct. But at the same time, on the other side of it, like, sometimes people just need to, realize that they don't have to take everything so personally. So within the NSFL, there's been a couple things that were said that were reported, and I've been like, this is a big deal. Like, this is trash talk. Deal with it. But if it was, something that was much further or much worse, then I might have to step in and do something. I don't want the league to get to that point where we have people worrying about what they can and cannot say. Am I going to get banned for trash talking this guy because I said it wrong? Like, don't be idiots. Be respectful. You can trash talk. You can have fun, but,
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear you've got a relatively laissez-faire approach to it. Obviously, we're on the internet. Things are going to get said. It's football. It's an emotional sport. Things are going to get said. And you kind of got to have thick skin a little bit, especially when you mix those two things together. And you mix it together with a bunch of people who are passionate because you're kind of not just insulting their character, you're insulting themselves. I mean, I will be the first one to say John Canton is a piece of me, and when he does poorly or when somebody comes at him, I try to take it on the chin as much as I can. I was probably a little bit soft coming into the league, but I don't care anymore. But it's you just kind of slowly get over it. I mean, we're all, for the most part, adults here, and it's, free speech is kind of a hot topic issue around the world right now, but I feel like the league would be not as great if it was just consisted of everybody being so PC because they're afraid to make any kind of statement at all in fear of getting punishments rained down on them.
Yeah, I don't want people to feel like they're walking on eggshells. So I'll do my best to strike a balance, but so far I haven't really had to, thankfully.
Good. Let's talk a little bit of some other stuff here. Let's talk about just some light stuff before I let you go here, because I am always interested in some of the head, not just the head office, but some of the people who are considered like the power members of the site. which owning it is counting as that, despite you not putting out as much media as anybody else. Not as anybody else, but as other people do. So I'm curious what you thought of the draft, what you thought of your team's draft, what you thought of other teams' drafts.
So this year, so the first 2 years, I was pretty heavily involved in pretty much everything coming up in the draft. I knew basically every player, what the position was, how active they were, how not active they were. And so I was pretty heavily involved in helping my team's management. But this year, I don't know if it's probably because DSFL was rolling out, but I don't even know the positions of every player that got drafted. I feel like the Wraiths did an excellent job just because I talk to Berserkap all the time and looking at the players he got and seeing how they are in the locker room, they seem to be really good. But as far as the rest of the league, yeah, aside from the top guys, I'm not entirely sure.
That's all right. I can understand having to deal with as much as you have. I mean, it's got to be almost like a full-time job, like a second full-time job taking care of this league sometimes.
Yeah, luckily, I mean, I'm already a guy who's on my phone a lot. My wife sometimes doesn't like that, but I'm on my phone. I'm always checking the site. Do I have an alert? Or you get emails about it or whatever. So I'm always on there answering messages and seeing new posts and things like that. So I try to be as plugged in as I can, and I feel like most things, as long as it's not something that's going on, I'm aware of. I'm not in the Discord. I'm not a Discord person at all. When the league wanted to roll it out, I was like, no, I don't want Discord at all. Like, it draws attention away from the site. I want everybody to be posting on the site, not on some chat. But it works both ways. People seem to like it, and the activity on the site doesn't seem to be lacking. So I'm all right with that.
All right. Yeah. No. So sometimes I feel like I should add more when you guys give these responses, but I was coming up with the same thing with Air, and it was just like I want to add more to the conversation here, but you guys are you've got these nice complete thoughts that I feel like I should just kind of let them sink, and I probably shouldn't have said anything, but I am very appreciative of how thorough you've been with all these answers.
Well, you're the first guy who's really asked me anything about like these kind of things. Like I haven't podcast or anything. I was like kind of wondering to myself if I want to do something like that. So it's have these out there for people to hear if they want.
You broke up a little bit on that one. I apologize. Could you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, I was just saying, like, you're the first person to really ask me to do a podcast. I kind of wondered, like, in season 1, season 2, like, oh, is anybody I wonder if anybody's going to want to, like, ask about the league and how it started and things like that. So it's kind of cool to get that out there for people to hear if they want to listen to it.
Yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to bring you on. I didn't see it anywhere. There was no like history of the league. There was no, we had, I don't know if you remember season 1, we kind of had a couple of podcasts here and there, but nobody really kind of started doing it full time. And that's kind of why I wanted to step in here and start doing it. I had enjoyed listening to them. I had fun doing the live stream of the season 1 draft, even though it went 5.5 hours.
Oh my God, that night sucked. That was so long.
And I spent that night in a kind of crappy hotel room with what I think was a cum stain on the floor and on the wall as well.
Funny looking back, like the league started with, I was just kind of, I want to start this. Let's kind of put it together. And I just started doing it, and it happened. But it started with basically 4 people, which is me and Percules. He usually has a different username. On SHL, he's probably drunk, and his player's name is Brum, so we just call him Brum all the time. So it was like me, Brum, Cope, and Kyle. And it's kind of interesting because the 4 of us have been connected through SHL. In our rookie year, we were like 4 of the top draft picks, all in the same rookie year, and we started writing articles together, the 4 of us, and we would go on these adventures, and we had these stories, and it was kind of like hangover stuff where we got into mischief and shit like that. And so ever since then, like the 4 of us have kind of been a group. So we made a little chat, and we were always on that. And now, like, Cope's a dad, and Prince Kyle's super busy with his job and stuff, and Hercules is hardly active on both sites.
Really, yeah, what? Do you have any idea what happened?
I'm like the only one left. Herc?
Yeah.
I still talk to him. I don't know, he's kind of lost his fire for sim leagues a little bit, I guess I would say. He made a new guy on SHL, and I don't think he's been super active. Copenhagen, like I said, he's a dad now, so even though he's my line mate on SHL and a really good player, he's kind of not as active. And Kyle, same thing. He's just busy with life. So all of them kind of, their activities died off, but I'm going strong.
Good. I'm glad to hear that you've kind of stayed with it. I mean, I know it's getting this started it was a huge undertaking, and you had a lot of help, and it sounds like you've gotten enough done. You've laid enough groundwork where you can kind of sit back and relax a little bit. Obviously not super hard, but it's kind of picked up its own motion, and it carries itself a bit. And now that even though the 3 of the 4 creators are gone, we still have you incredibly active, keeping the league going, keeping everything alive, and keeping the ship, keeping it afloat. But it's good to know that we're in good hands, that somebody is around making sure that everything's going well, that's really invested in the league and in the sport itself, and just kind of actually really, really cares about what's going on here, and is actively taking steps to make sure it stays that way.
Yeah, and it's not just one person. I mean, we've got a head office dedicated. You've got guys like Noble who are just like crazy active, and then you've got like Air is an absolute beast. This league would not be the same without him. Guys like that really help. And it's funny because every time that I feel like maybe I'm getting a little burnt out, I'm like, all right, let's get the DSF up and running. Maybe I'll step down after X amount of time or whatever. We have a good head office in place. And then something comes up and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I have to stay here to, make sure this goes right, make sure this goes right, make sure this goes right. So I see myself sticking around for a while just because, I don't know, maybe it's my baby and I want to make sure that I oversee everything, the controlling thing. But we do have a really good team. If I wasn't here, it would survive. They're really good.
Well, that's good to know. But I'm glad to hear you're staying around. And I'm assuming I don't think stepping down is at any point in your future, but assuming at some point, if you were to ever step down, would you still stay active in the league?
Oh, absolutely. I don't anticipate being commissioner forever, right? I want to have a team that I can count on. I'll probably stick on as owner and oversee things, and if I see something that's gone outside of my vision, I'll step in. But as far as my player, yeah, I don't see myself going anywhere. I even have my next player in mind already, but that's a ways away.
All right. Well, I just want to thank you for coming on with me, for talking with me for this long, for just joining me in the first place. I'm glad to have this kind of contact, especially with the league owner. It means a lot to me that you would come on to my show, and it means a lot to me that you would come on to anyone's show. So
I
thank you.
The invite. When I saw that in my inbox, I was like, oh, this is really cool. I like doing podcasts. I think I've only been on like 2 in my SHL and NSFL career, so I appreciate being invited. It's cool. Thank you. And
I'm glad you had kind of the opposite reaction of Air, who was kind of like, does anybody even listen to that thing? Why would I even come on? Who would want to hear me? I was like, I promise people will want to listen. I promise.
My favorite cats will listen.
I know I'm only getting like 30 listens at a time, but still, it's there. I promise.
The only other podcast I did was with Achilles and Kyle and a bunch of SHLers. Have you ever played Jackbox on like any system?
No, but I know about it.
Yeah, it's like a game where you log in on your phone, you answer questions and draw pictures and things like that, and then it's supposed to be used with like a room full of people, and you all watch the screen, and you do everything on your phone instead of a controller. So I would stream it on Twitch and then invite SHLers to join, and me and Brum and Kyle and whatever, we'd be doing a voice chat. and we just recorded ourselves bullshitting, and that was the only podcast I've done.
Well, I'm like I said, I'm very glad you came on here. I'm trying to keep this one as a not that it's anything against that. That sounds like a ton of fun. I'm trying to make this like a legit thing as much as I can. I'd like to
for the league.
I'd like to see it grow in popularity, not for myself, but for the league. I know getting to talk with some of the higher ups is something I would have been interested in when I first joined the league, in hearing that kind of stuff, hearing you guys' input on anything really. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast, for taking time out of your day to join me, to address some of the stuff that I've had questions for you, and to kind of put my mind at ease at the very least about what's going on in the league and the direction we're headed in. So thank you to Ballerstorm, owner of the league, king of NSFL,
oh, here it comes.
Commissioner in unending perpetuity, creator of the biggest diva wide receiver in history.
Ooh, Stormblessed might take that.
Well, Stormblessed might take that, but Stormblessed doesn't do as much coke as Josh Garden, so.
But for real, thank you really for the invite. This was fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to all the listeners. I hope you've enjoyed this interview here. There will be much more coming on. This is only episode 3 of all the different interviews I will be doing throughout the league, trying to get as many bigwigs as I can in here. Obviously, I've reeled in the big fish, so I peaked early. But if you guys could please, as always, let me know what you think. If you could PM me if you want to be on the show, if you have any suggestions, if you hate what I said, if you've loved what I said, if you have any problems with anything going on here or any suggestions to make the podcast better, I'm always appreciative of that. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good week.